Madagascar authorities have arrested former President Marc Ravalomanana. He returned to the island today after having been living in exile in South Africa since 2009. For the latest, we're joined by eNCA Africa producer Dumalo Mohlaudi. Dumalo, great to have you with us. Now, does this come as a surprise, really?
No, certainly doesn't come as a surprise. I think the fact that he managed to get into Madagascar was something that SADC, the region, had been working behind the scenes and lobbying extensively to make sure that the space would be created for him to go back in peacefully. Now, of course, SADC is very concerned about the political climate in Madagascar and making sure that his return would then not spark a return to the violence that was seen. I think it was in 2009 following the military coup. So they were working on a political roadmap that would effectively remove Mr. Ravalomanana and Mr. Rajoelina from the political spectrum. And the understanding was that if that roadmap was followed and both players were not involved in elections, which they agreed to, then they would then facilitate his return back home. So upon his return back home, then of course we hear reports that he made a political speech. I think those in his camp would argue that it was not necessarily a political speech. It was just him announcing his return and saying that he's back home. But then, of course, his opponents didn't see it that way, and this would have sparked what would be his arrest if these reports are absolutely correct, if it is indeed an arrest. I mean, you know, in 2012, I was on that plane when he was supposedly trying to return back home and was blocked. It was quite an experience sitting in the airline, and then halfway to Madagascar, all of a sudden, the pilot announces that we'll be heading back to South Africa, pulling effectively what is a handbrake turn in the air, a very sharp turn, because authorities in Madagascar made it abundantly clear that they would not accept or that airline or that airplane coming into their airspace. So it just goes to show you that despite the roadmap by SADC, the political environment still remains very much heated in Madagascar. This we'll be watching this very closely to see how SADC then addresses this new development in what has been an ongoing saga in Madagascar, one that has seen this tiny island nation also suffering greatly economically as a result of this political impasse.
Indeed, and to your point, whether it was a wise decision for him to go back or not, that's besides the point, because now he has allegedly been arrested. However, talk us through his relationship with the current sitting president. Surely nothing goes on in the country without the president knowing. Well, yeah,
surely nothing goes on without the president knowing. And I think the current president would have been seen as something of a choice where, you know, between the two, he would have been a candidate that would have moved things forward without the two polar opposites colliding. And I think SADC might be a bit disappointed, if anything in the past has been, if you can go with anything to go by, because they would have wanted a situation where having negotiated effectively his peaceful return back home, he would have adhered to the deal that was put on the table that, you know, stay clear of the political situation for now until the temperatures come down, because I mean, you know, SADC wants Madagascar to go back, and with this situation now breaking out, of course tensions on the ground might spill over and might threaten to explode once more.
Indeed, and we'll be keeping a keen eye on that story. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon.